What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 50, Fines and Blowouts, the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. We're a little earlier tonight, and it'll be a little shorter tonight because I got to watch my Yankees play at 8 o'clock. So we got plans. We got to eat dinner, and then I also have to carve pumpkins tonight. We got a lot going on, so we'll try and get through as much as we can before 7:30, so that we can get you guys all of your news.
They're soon to be eliminated Yankees.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know how my dogs keep opening the door. Go.
It's all good. It's all good, y'all. How y'all doing? Morgan's dogs are being a little bit mischievous because they want their airtime.
Yeah, they want to come. I'm up in my husband's office tonight, and they really just want to come up in here and play around. And I am trying to tell them no, they can't, and they don't love that. I have to tell you. So, but it was a good weekend, not a great weekend if you're a New York sports fan, but it was fun. We had a lot going on, and there's a lot more going on. We had the sports equinox, all 4 professional sports playing on one night, which is always very fun. Sundays and Monday, I believe that was, is very fun. So, Kylan, how was your weekend?
Pretty good, pretty good. Y'all know, I think we talked about this before on this podcast that I don't know what Morgan knows, but y'all don't. So yes, Sunday was ordination day for me. I did not become a preacher. Y'all don't have to worry about that. The next best thing they ordained me to be a deacon at my church. So that was Sunday. And obviously the Eagles blew the Bengals out. A little worried about that. Glad they got flexed to 1 o'clock, so I wasn't in the middle of the event being like touchdown. So I was happy about that. It was great. It was a great Sunday for me. Eagles won, Sixers won in OT. Finally, it was a good weekend. Pretty relaxing. Saturday was pretty chill. Everything is everything, man. It was a pretty good weekend. Pretty busy. I missed VP Harris was in the area. The Tribune wanted me to go to that, but unfortunately I couldn't do that because that was at the same time as the service, so couldn't actually do that. So I missed being able to at least be in the same room as VP Harris, unfortunately. But you win some, you lose some in this business, right? So
It's true.
everything can't be too bad. What's up, RC? He's catching us early. That's good. He must have gotten his noties figured out. Great to see you, fam. Welcome to the show. If nothing else, let's get to it because we're hitting it. We're hitting y'all again with football because basketball is good, but it's not. We're not in the more dramatic part where it can dominate the A block. So we know Morgan's happy about this because once again we're starting with her favorite sport. Deontay Johnson was traded from the Carolina Panthers for basically a bag of chips and Carolina iced tea, but a fifth of the 6th round pick to the Baltimore Ravens. So, Morgan, your reaction to this?
It didn't surprise me all that much. I felt like the Ravens are they've been kind of collecting pieces over the last year and a half, and they really, I think, feel like they have a Super Bowl contending team this year, and so they're going to make as many moves before the trade deadline as they can to put together that perfect puzzle of a piece. And I don't think they mind having some of these older players on the team because, like I said, I think that they truly feel like this is their year, or this or next year is their year. And so trying to get as many of those pieces in place, and I don't think they're looking too far down the road. And then on the flip side, I don't know what the Carolina Panthers are doing. They lose people. They just seem to perpetually get screwed over by trades. Like, and again, I don't know if Deontay Johnson would have gone for much more anywhere else. I don't know, but you think for as bad as they are, why are they trading away players for 5th and 6th round picks? Why not? And maybe they have a secret plan, and then that's why I'm not a GM for an NFL team. But I don't know. It just seems like they continually trade away athletes for lower than what would seem even relevant to do a trade for, if that makes sense.
I mean, to me, I just think that they're fully in the pocket, right? We'll get to this later. We've seen it with Bryce. Dag, I haven't seen him in so long. I forgot his name.
Bryce Young.
Bryce Young. Um, that they're basically they're a terrible organization. We're talking about the Panthers, not the Ravens. For the Panthers side, it only makes sense if you're taking for Shador, Clint Ewers, Dylan Gabriel, or some other quarterback that you think you have a chance to get, which they totally do because they suck. I don't think this is a news flash. I feel like every week I'm on here giving people no more expert analysis than this. That Carolina Panthers are a sucky organization. They have killed Bryce Young in his development, but they're not the only ones. The Colts suck too. So like there's a lot of teams that are terrible. Have no knock on the Colts GM, but they're a terribly run organization and they kill promising young quarterbacks because they don't have the time. They have sucky ownership. Everything that you could think of, they suck at. That's the Carolina Panthers, right?
Yeah.
Like David Tepper is a thug with $1 million. We saw this last year when he tried to beat up a fan in his $1 million box. I mean, this is true. He could try to sue me, but he buried it and only PFT covered it. So like he tried to bury it. So like he can say what he wants, but he's a thug with $1 million. I said it. Morgan didn't. I did. But Deontay Johnson should be happy that he's no longer associated with that bad franchise. Like, as far as the Baltimore side, like Morgan said, they're just acquiring pieces. At this point in the AFC, it is an arms race between the Ravens and the Chiefs. Like, last week we talked about the Chiefs got D-Hop. The Ravens answer back with Deontay Johnson. Now, is that apples to apples? Probably not. Obviously, D-Hop has more talent, but at this point, I just think the Ravens want somebody who can stretch the field. I mean, we've seen it. Obviously, the Ravens came up short against the Browns, mostly because their defense collapsed on them. But I am of the mindset that when you add, I mean, that offense is already a number one in the league. There's really not much they need. They just need Lamar to be accurate. So if Deontay Johnson adds to the fact that they can't load the box up in the playoffs, so be it. But I just think that at this point, I just believe that outside of the Chiefs' defense, the only thing that can stop the Ravens is the Ravens at this point.
Yeah.
So moving right along, does acquiring Johnson make the Ravens even more dangerous on the offensive side? Yes. Even though he's old, I think that all you really need is someone who can blow the top off. That is Zay Flowers, but Zay Flowers is more of a middle slot kind of guy. I just think you need somebody who's more reliable and has the speed than Rashad Bateman. Don't at me, Rashad Bateman fantasy owners. I know y'all have been really, really happy these last few weeks, but Rashad is not really the deep ball kind of guy. Deontay Johnson is. So I just think this makes them even more dangerous. And like I just said, the only thing that can really stop the Ravens is the Ravens. Morgan?
Yeah, I think that, they're getting depth, which I think is always really important, especially when, like I said, you think you have the opportunity to make a long play in the playoffs. It's always good to have depth because injuries happen. It's a really long season and, you need people. And I'm not saying he's not going to start. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying that, you not everybody can be a wide receiver one. Not every can be a DB1, QB1, whatever. Having backups that are or a wide receiver 2 or a tight end 2, whatever it is, that are solid allows your starters to take a couple series off, take some breaks. And then if there is an injury, doesn't allow your team to absolutely collapse. So yeah, I think it makes them definitely more dangerous because depth always makes your offense more dangerous. It's not a worry of injuries as much.
Amen. All right, so moving right along. And for those of you that don't know, the NFL trade deadline is a little bit early, I believe, or maybe a little bit late. Morgan can tell me since she's more of the bigger dates person when it comes to the NFL, but I think it's late
coming up. It's coming up.
I think it's like within the next. Usually by Halloween it's over. I think it's later this year. So you got any big prediction for the NFL trade deadline?
I don't know. I'm wondering what the Jets are going to do. I'm wondering if the Jets are going to just blow the team up, trade for a ton of picks, and kind of try and start over.
We'll get to the Jets.
Yeah, I know. That would be my biggest, prediction, I guess. I don't, I think that the Lions would like a pass rusher. I don't
John Reddick.
necessarily know. Yeah, I mean, that would be I don't know really anybody else that is like absolutely dying for something that's like a contender, if that makes sense. Aiden Hutchinson getting hurt was huge for the Lions. They still look good. They still look solid. Obviously, just the dominance is not as solid without him in the picture. So that would probably be the big one that I would say. I think the Lions are definitely going to trade for a pass rusher.
Yeah, I think so. I think Hassan Reddick will probably get dealt. I think that if you look at the 49ers, they're basically at a point now, if they lose this upcoming Sunday, where they might as well just start selling off that defense because they're not going anywhere this year. Sorry, 49ers fans. Not sorry, actually. But, it's to the point now where the Jets should be looking to sell off. The 49ers should be looking to sell off just because your defense is getting old. Your offensive line is old. You might as well. You're in cap hell. You're in cap hell anyway. You might as well start trading Charvarius Ward. You might as well trade somebody. I think there's going to be a couple because there are a couple of contending teams in the market for CBs who are not the Philadelphia Eagles. So I definitely imagine some cornerbacks are going to get dealt. I'm not really sure who it'll be, but I'm sure some cornerbacks will get dealt. There's definitely going to be some middle linebackers and some DNs that get dealt as well. But I'm just of the mindset that I think this will be more of a boring trade deadline. I think that
yeah, I don't think we're going to see any crazy like Christian McCaffrey type trades this one. I think it's going to be more not lower level players, but I think it's going to be, like I said, those teams that are feeling like they're Super Bowl contenders this year, looking to strengthen the depth of their team. There really aren't any Super Bowl contenders that have like gigantic gaps besides the Lions at pass rush.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so to the other big news. It seems like every time we do a show in late October, early November, there's a Diggs brother that's injured. Stephon Diggs tore his ACL over the weekend. Speedy recovery to him. Nobody here is reveling in that. So what's your reaction to this? I can start here. I think that this is bad timing for him. I thought he was having a relatively okay season. I think it was, obviously there's always a thing when you come in later with a young quarterback. Stroud spreads the ball. Obviously, Stephon Diggs is probably his most talented receiver, but I'm not looking at the stats. But I think he had a pretty okay season before he got injured. It wasn't like he was dominating the box score as much. But I just think that, very unfortunate. I think that we'll get to this later, but I just think it's unfortunate because he was basically trying to have a prove-it season that he's worth the money to show these contenders that he deserves more money. He's not a diva, and then he gets injured. Very unfortunate. I think it's kind of tanked now. I think what this guarantees is that he'll be back with the Texans because I think his value is right now at an all-time low. He's basically at where Odell Beckham was minus the Super Bowl. The same thing happened to Odell Beckham on that terrible field, which I think was in, what was that, LA, right? On that terrible field.
Yeah. He had the touchdown and then tore his ACL.
Yeah. Had to pull the Carson Wentz, scored a touchdown, tore his ACL at the same time on that terrible field that is SoFi Stadium. I am of the mindset that just Diggs is basically, I think, guaranteed to be a Texan again next year, just because I don't think any other team is going to want him. And that's not any fault of his own. That's just, Morgan has always heard me say that the NFL stands for not for long. And so that's why I don't begrudge these players for getting the money when they can, because stuff like this happens. You're going into free agency and nobody wants you. Now, we don't know what's going to happen, but I assume that nobody's going to want a dang near 35-year-old receiver, right, Morgan? Coming off of a torn ACL. Morgan?
Yeah. It stinks for him. I think, he came out first game of the year, had 3 touchdowns that first game, looked awesome. So has definitely slowed down since then. But honestly, if we're going to be real honest, so has CJ Stroud. So I don't know how much of, Diggs can't throw the ball to himself. But my biggest takeaway from this, besides everything that Kylan just said about it being tough for Diggs himself, is that this puts the Texans in a really tough spot. really tough spot. They are missing some key players, and they are desperately trying to get some people back. So actually, I may take that back. They may be looking for a receiver at the trade deadline. And again, that might be something you look for from the Jets. They have some receivers that are good, and now that they have Devontae Adams, who I don't think they're going to trade, there's not as much room for them on the team, and I can see some people being frustrated with the new game plan. As soon as Devontae Adams comes in, it's short chuck 6-yard pass to Devontae Adams every time.
Are you talking about their Ohio State receiver and his quarterback being in Houston? Are you talking about Garrett?
The
Jets keep saying is not available.
But what I think is, again, what is it? Thou that protests doth, whatever that saying is.
Not protest too much, yeah.
I think that I think Wilson seems like a nice kid, and I don't, doesn't seem like that much of a, he's had his a few little diva moments, wide receiver diva moments, but nothing like too crazy. So I could see him internally being like, you got to release me. Like, you got to trade me. You got to trade me. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that that's going to be the biggest thing, is that who are the Texans going to turn to now that Diggs is out for the year?
Whoever their tight end is.
Yeah.
I just would like to say he's 30. He's about to be 31 November 29th. So, but still a receiver in his 30s coming off an injury. But Morgan kind of touched on this. What does this mean for the Texans? Hitting that market very heavy on Garrett Wilson. There's probably a couple other receivers who they could probably get that are probably not happy in their situation and would love to be with somebody who can spread the ball. I think Morgan kind of touched on this. I think this means that there's going to be a lot more on CJ Stroud. And I just think that, Morgan kind of touched on it. I don't know if it's just him slowing down. I just think that, at a certain point, Jalen Hurts went through this, Patrick Mahomes, both of them went through this last year, and Josh Allen as well, who Morgan famously says I don't like. But, they are, you get to a point where defenses figure you out, right? This is where CJ Stroud, I think, is. I don't think it's that he's slowing down. I just think that he's being a lot more careful, and they're taking away the deep ball from him. I haven't watched the Texas game in a while, but I'm going to assume that they're taking away the big plays from him.
Yeah.
I'm of the mindset that this means that CJ Stroud has to go God mode, because obviously he can't throw the ball to himself, but he's got to be a lot more careful. He's got to definitely make sure that the Texans go draft a lot of weapons for him this upcoming draft. But yeah, like I think this means, as Morgan said, they hit that trade deadline. Don't know how many wide receivers are available, but they hit that trade deadline, and it always surprises you when these receivers get traded, because half the time I'm like, oh, he was available? No idea,
Exactly.
But yeah. So to the bigger question here, at 30, about to be 31 next month, is Diggs's career over, Morgan?
That's tough. I can see him doing what a lot of players do, and like doing like a soft retirement, if that makes sense. Like, not saying he's retired, but waiting for the right opportunity, I guess. Like, I believe his contract was just a year with the Texans, right?
Yeah, like a year, and I think an option for another one, but basically.
So, we'll see what the Texans do at the end of the year. I mean, I don't think he's going to get the money he thought he was going to get. So I think it all depends on him. It depends on if he's willing to take less than he might believe he's worth to play. And I think that if he still wants that record high level number, then yeah, I don't think any competent team is going to sign him. You never know with teams like the Lions or the Panthers or, the Browns. You never know with owners like that. Sometimes they might throw a curveball in there, but I really don't think that any reasonable owner would spend an exorbitant amount of money on him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think he's in for another year prove-it deal. I never want to say, especially coming off as much as medicine has made a comeback in 2024. I don't want to say that somebody's career is over, but I think to this point, especially with him, as you said, slowing down and not really having a big game after the first game, I think this is about as near devastating as it can be for somebody who's in their early 30s but has a lot of years on them when it comes to NFL years.
Yeah. I mean, look, you saw Kirk Cousins came back, Aaron Rodgers came back. It's kind of it's. I think again, I truly think that it's all going to be about the pay, and if he's willing to
take less,
then yeah, I do think he'll play next year. But I think that if he is kind of what we know Diggs to be, then I think it's going to be harder for him to get signed to a contract. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. To another quarterback before we get to the teams that Morgan and I actually care about. Anthony Richardson was benched by the Indianapolis Colts. Morgan, your reaction to this, because I know it's kind of weird. I didn't watch this game, but I hear he asked out. So, I don't know if you have any more to add on this.
You're a professional athlete. You don't ask to go out of the game as quarterback ever. Period. Unless you are seriously injured. And then you go to the point where he's like, yeah, I was just tired. Admits it. We talk about players needing PR training all the time, but a little white lie there. I felt a pinch. Wasn't sure what it was. I wanted to just get it looked at for a second. It was a quick medical thing. I just wanted to get checked out. Anything, And then, I don't know if you saw any of the Shane Steichen presser today, but he seemed pretty fed up with it. He was like, we told Anthony that, like, that's not what happens. Professional athletes and quarterbacks don't just, like, leave at, you don't just go out. It's just, it's craziness,
Now, did they have any timeouts where that he could have burned? Like, I didn't know the situation.
I assume that they would have used it if they did, but he went out for like 2 or 3 plays, and then came back in. He was like, man, I did a lot of running, blah, blah, blah. And you're thinking, okay, well, Lamar Jackson is way older than you. He runs all the time. He never asks to come out of the game. Running quarterbacks exist, and I don't know. And I think that that's a valid statement. I think that as the leader of the offense, you can't just pull yourself out. What if the center was like, nah, I need to take a snap off. That was real. I ran too far. Like, what do you think the quarterback would say? Like, you can't do that. You're integral
You had it integral. You had
integral to the offense. You can't pull yourself out. That's not how it works. It's not. Yeah. It's no. And I mean, again, you're not hurt. It's the end of the game. Your backup isn't expecting to go in, and you're lucky that you have a very seasoned professional vet behind you that can come in and do stuff. And so I think it's a lesson for him. And then he said today he's not really sure why he got benched. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to him. Like, take a little bit of a responsibility. Be like, yeah, this was a learning moment. I should learn something from it. I'm happy to sit behind Joe Flacco for the next couple weeks and learn from him. He's been incredible, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is. Again, you are a professional athlete that is the leader of the team. You got to learn how to act like it.
Yeah, I not knowing the context of this other than the fact that he asked out, I guess it was on their final drive. I mean, I don't know how much of this is the fact that they weren't going to win that game anyway. But I just think that, again, this is a young quarterback who probably got drafted a little too soon. And
too soon? You want to know something crazy? You want to know something real crazy?
What?
He is 2 months younger than Shedeur Sanders.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, that's why I said too soon. I think that.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Too soon. You're right.
I think that, and I mean, I don't know if you covered, I guess you were at this draft when he got drafted, right? Because you gone to the last 2 drafts. So I remember, like, when he got drafted out of Florida, the knock on him was it was too soon. He probably needed another year.
Well,
he had everything
to your point,
at Florida.
Guess how many starts he has had since high school?
I don't know, probably like 30.
24, I believe.
I wasn't far off.
Also, wait, so I just want to preface this. They had a chance to win. You know what the final score was on Sunday?
27-24.
Oh no, they won. They were winning. Sorry.
Okay.
No. They weren't winning.
They
They
lost,
lost
right?
by 3 points.
Yeah. Yeah, I was about to say it
He
had to
just
be
had
on
to
the.
he just had to get them into field goal range.
Yeah, I was about to say it had to be on the final drive, or he wouldn't have been benched. Um. So yeah, like Mason and RC said, I mean, look, this is why y'all got to get in here and comment. You see, we put y'all, make y'all famous. But I'm to his point. Like, I just think that, and I'm gonna be a little bit soft on him because I didn't watch. I was doing a lot Sunday, as y'all heard. So I didn't watch this game, and I wouldn't have watched it anyway, just because the Eagles were on at the same time. But from what I understand, the Colts had a pretty good game going before, as they often have done since Andrew Luck retired. They killed it. They killed the game themselves. So I'm of the mindset that Joe Flack at this point for the Colts, it's about you should probably be a seller at this point. Like you have a dynamic running back that you probably need to trade because it just is what it is. It hasn't been the same since Peyton left. Hasn't been the same since Andrew Luck retired. It's just time. Like they're a poorly run, or I know they have a good GM, but they're a poorly run franchise with an owner who thinks he's bigger than the game. It's time to hang it up there. Anthony Richardson is just a symptom of the problem in Indianapolis. He shouldn't have been asking out. As RC said, he's not him. I don't know if Morgan was planning on using him as her he's not him, or not. But I am of the mindset that um, Anthony Richardson should learn from this. But even having Joe Flacco in there, I mean, we saw this last year. He kept the Jets relevant. Hopefully, if you're Joe Flacco, I know, obviously, like I said, the NFL stands for not for long. But at this point, you should understand that the Colts are basically trying to suck so they can get into this Shador Sanders, Travis Hunter sweepstakes, which all these sucky teams should be in, but they're not. I'm of the mindset that as far as this is concerned, Anthony Richardson did kind of quit on his team. He should have. I just annoyed Dane Deacon say this. He should have said something else instead of telling the truth. Here, we do want our athletes to be authentic, but in some cases, it's better to just be like, "Oh yeah, I felt something," like as Morgan so eloquently pointed out. But here, I just think that this is another example of a bad team, a disorganized team, ruining a young talent. Like I just think this is what happens when you win a lot. Obviously, Florida sucked, but when Anthony Richardson was there, it was like their last good year. So I think that this is what happens when you have young talent who's used to winning, being around a sucky team, and how it
Yes.
kills their development.
And I think it's also you have to look at it where he has no one to look up to. He came in, and I mean, who was their quarterback last year? Did he just start? Was it just him? I don't even remember.
I think he just got named because remember there was a whole drama with Ursay and who was it, Wretch or whoever their coach was before, and somebody wound up getting fired over it. Remember, because I think Florio was all over it about how there was a power struggle between the coach and Ursay because Ursay wanted to prove that he didn't overreach by making them take Anthony Richardson. Was it just last year or the year before last?
He got drafted last year.
Yeah. So he wanted to prove that he didn't overreach. I mean, all of that we should say is alleged. It's not like Ursay came out and said, "I made them start him." So, he would never actually say that.
Yeah.
But that's just what happens. I mean, RC's got a comment. Morgan and I could tell two other teams with overpaid quarterbacks who had chances at the end to win too. So, so moving right along. I know he's referencing the Giants here, and I guess whoever his team is, maybe the Vikings. I have no idea. But I clearly think he's referencing your Giants. I don't. Maybe. Oh, he's a Cowboys fan, isn't he? Oh,
I think Dak's overpaid, but all right.
All right. The Philadelphia Eagles case the Cincinnati Bengals. Morgan was saying, Jalen, just give her. I mean, she wasn't saying this, but she's Morgan knows that I respect and love her, but at this point, Morgan was asking, and a lot of people are asking in our industry for a dominant game. I mean, did this satisfy you? Caging the Bengals like they did, looking dominant.
You
Third
know
straight.
what was so crazy was Joe Burrow looked good. Like, was throwing good passes, was doing good things, and
He was talking about Dak and Trevor. I thought he was talking about Daniel Jones.
Fair. I mean, you have to put Daniel Jones in that. Including Daniel Jones, or I would, I'm not a big Dak fan, but I would take Dak out and put Daniel Jones in there as well. But I love Joe Burrow. I love a lot of things that he does as a person.
Except that hairdo.
Yeah, the hairdo is not good. The hair's not good. But and I was happy for him, especially on that first drive. He went like 10 for 12 or something, and they just couldn't seem to get it into the end zone. And again, I watched, I work on Sundays, so I'm in the room with a lot of Eagles fans, and got to the end of the game where it was still close. There was still a chance that since he could come back, and they were like, just give the ball to Saquon. It's just what everybody keeps saying. And it's like, because what it is even when other teams know that Saquon's getting the ball, he's still going to get 5 yards. He's still going to get 4 yards. And again, like, let's do math. If they gave it to him every drive, which obviously they're not going to do, I know that, but if you gave it to him for 75% of the plays, and almost every play he averages 4 yards, 5 yards, you're gonna get a first down every time. It might take three tries, but you're gonna get there. So, I don't know. I just don't understand. He did better. They did better, but there were still times where I was like, just give it to freaking Saquon. Just give it to him. Just give it to him. No, but they did better than I, they'd listened to us a little bit.
They got to a point. That's why I said I think they watched this podcast. They got to a point. What was I saying last week? Balance, 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 right? They ran it down their throats to start. I was a little worried when they were down 7 already. I was like, oh, they're going to get throw happy, but they stuck to the plan, right? I keep saying all these teams that they're going to face are weak over the middle. I was a little worried without Dallas Goedert that they would ignore the middle. Calcaterra did very, very well, and Stout over the middle, killing the Bengals because they have no good linebackers who can cover a tight end. Really happy about that. Got it to A.J. Brown, that deep ball that I thought was going to get intercepted, but I should know by now that anytime he basically throws it, it's a guaranteed catch to A.J., which it was. And I mean, what really to me succinctly got that game was, that deep ball to Devontae. That's what I knew. I'm like, oh, Jalen back, man. I don't know what they did, but they have done such a good job, Kellen Moore, I think, in gaining that trust between him and Jalen Hurts, really doing well and learning how to trust. What did I say a few weeks ago over the bye week? You were telling me, oh, it's over, it's doom and gloom, Eagles haven't found themselves. I told you, all they have to do, Jalen and Kellen Moore need to sit down, figure it out right now, because they're going to be here for the long haul. I already told y'all who's going to be the head coach if they fire Nick Sirianni. Let me tell you, Kellen Moore is not here. He didn't come here to be second in command for no reason. That's the coach. That's the coach in waiting right there. And so now that they figured it out, and again, he's not turning the ball over. I think the Eagles are something like 14-2, 15-16-2 now when Jalen doesn't turn the ball over. It's just a guarantee, man. He doesn't turn the ball over. They stay balanced. And the Bengals just need to pay T. Higgins. I mean, you want to talk about sellers, right? Jamar Chase has basically said peace. T. Higgins basically has them by the balls, essentially. They have him on a franchise tag, and Jamar Chase has basically said, I'm out, right? So if Jamar is to be believed that he's not Dak Prescotting us, he'll be out of here next year, or this upcoming season. It'll just be T. Higgins and Joe Burrow, and he might as well just request a trade right now as we speak. Joe Burrow, I'm going to do you a favor. Request a trade. As soon as Jamar Chase leaves, you need to request a trade. Soon as that happens, you need to request a trade. I'm going to give you some inside baseball. Request that trade, because it's gonna look horrible with just you and T. Higgins if T. Higgins stays. If you lose both of them next summer, it's over for you, Joe. Just ask for a trade right now. As far as the Eagles side, defense looked good. I think I don't know what the NFL was thinking, letting them get Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, because Cooper DeJean basically saved that game. Like if it was anybody else that was tackling Jamar Chase, he probably gets the first down. But Cooper DeJean doesn't miss. So I just think the Eagles secondary looks good. The defensive line looks good. I have no issues with this game. Morgan, you have anything to add?
No, I actually thought it was a very enjoyable game.
Right.
I had my eye on it for most of that slate.
Oh, I know you had your eye on it, and my name up, ready to text me if they fell to the Bengals and say, "Hey, we did something y'all didn't."
I'm always rooting against anybody else in the NFC East because the Giants need all the help they can get.
Are the Eagles putting it together at the right time, Morgan? Well, I guess you started the last time. This is I can start.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they are. I think that bye week came at a really good time to help them get healthy, help them figure some things out, get their crap together, And I just think that, like I said, Kellen Moore and Jalen Hurts figuring it out, Nick Sirianni and Vic Fangio figuring it out on the defensive side. Again, I said this. Everything would get better for the Eagles was Nick Sirianni could stop being his dictatorial, stubborn self and learn how to trust his coordinators. Now that he has that trust now, or it seems like he's building it, it's gotten way better for the Eagles. It's better when the Eagles don't have too many hands in the pot. So I'm of the mindset that they are putting it together at the right time, and they should. It's going to look great. And, we'll see. Obviously, they face the Jaguars and what should have been SNF, but is now 4 o'clock because they rather have the Commanders. I can't begrudge NBC for wanting the Commanders over the Eagles right now. We'll get to that last minute Hail Mary. But that's where I'm at with it, Morgan.
Yeah. They look good right now. And I said, right now they are putting it together. What I am concerned about for the Eagles is that it seems like it's hard for them to keep it together for a long period of time. So my worry would be they seem to look really good and really together right now. And the season's really long. I feel like this kind of happened last year. They started off a tiny bit slow. They got really hot in the middle. And then towards the end of the season, they just kind of started falling apart. So for your sake, I hope that doesn't happen. But I feel like that's always my worry kind of for the Eagles.
We'll see. All right. So we'll get to, it was a good time to be a Pennsylvania, not so good to be a New Yorker on Sunday. But we'll get to this team. The Giants fell to the Steelers. Oh, man. Tell me about this game, Morgan, because I'll be honest. I was there up until the third quarter when I fell asleep, and when I woke up, the game was over. So you tell me what happened.
It was kind of what you expected. It was a dogfight. The Giants' defense is good. It's just good, and it keeps them into games. I really thought we had a chance when they fumbled in the fourth quarter, and we got it back, and we'd been moving the ball really well, and Daniel Jones threw an interception. He did what Daniel Jones does, and game over. It's tough. I just saw a quote that Daniel Jones is very frustrated, and everybody's frustrated. It is what it is. It's sucky. And they got to do something. Andrew Thomas being out hurts so bad because Daniel Jones, we finally had a good offensive line for the first time since I can remember, honestly, in years. And Andrew Thomas getting hurt just blows all of that up. So, Russell Wilson was moving the ball really well. I think they matched up well, and the Giants had a chance to win at the end. They seem to, I think that's what's more frustrating this season is that we kind of seem to hang in there. And then even when we get down, we seem to have these like little spurts of brilliance, and we come back and you get excited, and then they lose it on the last play again.
Well, I think that this was a relatively good game. This was I'm sorry. Well, I said I went to sleep. That was the Sunday night football game. This was MNF, right? Giants and Steelers.
Monday night, yeah.
Yeah, so sorry, y'all. Acronyms. Monday Night Football for those of you who are not initiated in SNF, MNF in this media industry. Sorry. I am of the mindset that it looked good. This was a dogfight as we expected between two defenses, and like a relatively. It came down to the fact whose offensive line could withstand the dominant defensive line, and you know, I am I don't think anybody was surprised that the Steelers, with a relatively healthy line, looked better than the Giants' injured, very, very injured offensive line. I think if all things were equal and everybody was healthy, this might have ended up in a field goal, which I think I predicted the Steelers over the Giants 23-20. Which apparently I wasn't far off. This is why these degenerate sports bettors listen to us more. Our scores come dangerously close to being true. But I'm of the mindset that Russell Wilson still is looking good, that deep ball and everything. And the Giants are okay. They just need health and a better quarterback. At some point, I think Giants fans are sick of me saying, if you listen to this podcast consistently, good team, just need a quarterback. I said the same thing about the Commanders last year. Okay team, just need a quarterback. Same thing. Okay team, just need a quarterback. But the Giants people clearly don't watch this podcast like the Eagles people do. I'll just keep saying it and they'll just keep ignoring me. And Morgan has said it too. I don't really think it's great for the Steelers. Not so great for the Giants, but great if you're a Giants fan who's like, we get closer and closer to Shador Sanders or Travis Hunter. So it's great for you if you think that. Um, but moving right along to the other half of the NFC East, the 49ers beat down the Cowboys. I mean, was there any doubt? All three of us, Morgan, myself, and OJ, said this would be a beatdown. It took a while for it to become a beatdown, but by the
It was
third
a slow start to the game for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't really have anything else, but I think the 49ers needed this. 49ers needed to show that they were dominant despite the injuries. It looked kind of bad for Brock Purdy again without his weapons. Again, they say that Christian McCaffrey is going to come back. I highly doubt, even if he does come back, that he'll be as dominant with a hamstring injury and probably more than that. I'm of the mindset that the 49ers need this game, but I definitely think that the 49ers are one or two more losses away from being sellers. So I'm of the mindset that, the 49ers need this game. They got it. They face a very weak Dallas team. And, Dak Prescott, I mean, it's too bad Jerry Jones paid him. But, Dak Prescott is basically now stuck with the Cowboys. He's going to be the rope around their neck for the next 5 years because they had a chance to start a new slate and Jerry Jones caved. And now there's nothing left. I mean, do you even want to pay Micah Parsons now? He's injured already. Like, it's a whole thing now. It's unfortunate for the Cowboys. Unfortunate if you're a fan of any of the other NFC East teams. But, I'm of the mindset that the Cowboys always are good at, statching common sense away from and using nonsense. So I think the Cowboys are a good team that's just too talented, that are done in by power struggles and stupidity by their ownership and front office. Like, I know there's a lot of Cowboys fans that are yelling at me, Dak is good, Dak is great, not looking good right now. So, I'm of the mindset that the Cowboys needed a clean slate, and now they're kind of stuck. They're going to have to pay Michael Parsons, so now you're going to have, you know, Dak, CD, and Micah with a lot of money and nothing around them, and it's going to keep looking worse and worse every year. Great for the 49ers. They got to win. All the 49ers boosters are now happy. They're still saying they're going to be a Super Bowl team, despite the obvious evidence that they're not going to be a Super Bowl team, staring them right in the face. But the Cowboys also look bad, and they're just injured. I don't think there's anything more to this game than the 49ers were the less injured team, despite the fact that they are just as injured as the Cowboys. Morgan?
Yeah, I've been saying it all season. I don't believe in the Dallas Cowboys. They're flighty. They don't make a lot of sense. Their coaching is abysmal. And I think a lot of it, in my opinion, comes down to coaching. I think that Kyle Shanahan is just such a better coach than Mike McCarthy. And you know, I think we've been saying it. The Dallas Cowboys players have been saying it. There's distractions. There's just stuff going on, and you know, I think it's always something with the Cowboys. It's never just let's go play football. And the 49ers, kind of for better or for worse, seem to have the ability to not have all those distractions. And I think that is a big reason why the Cowboys can't seem to stay in games against these kind of teams. And yeah, you know, that's like I said, I think it's the distractions. I think there's too much going on. I don't think Dak is the answer. I've said that for a year, as long as you've been doing this podcast.
He's not him. Is that what you're saying?
I just don't. You know, he's fine, but he doesn't. He shows flashes of brilliance. Like, he still, in my opinion, is like a rookie. I'm like, I still haven't really seen you be amazing. And I just think he's getting paid too much to be playing like that. But you know, I what do you think's wrong with them?
Well, I think I said it right. I think that they're not healthy. Obviously, Micah Parsons being down, as long as some other of their defenders. I think Trayvon Diggs hasn't recovered from his injury last year. I think he's not him either right now. I'm of the mindset that they're not healthy. Jerry Jones needs to fire himself as the GM and get a real GM in there. I'm of the mindset that, you know, there's just a lot going on there. The coach sucks, as you pointed out. They have a lot of money to three soon-to-be aging players who are very, very talented, don't get me wrong, but they're aging. And, like, you know, I keep saying it. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons clearly don't equal a Super Bowl. Like, so there's more that needs to be done. They need to bring somebody in there who could actually build a team. I don't even think that if they fired McCarthy right now and brought in, let's say, who they really want in Denver, like, even if they brought in what's his name that's in Denver right now, I don't think he clearly has proven that he needs more than just himself as the coach. I mean, Sean Payton is not him either. So, like, I'm of the mindset that this will only get better once Jerry Jones fires himself as the GM. Like, if Jerry Jones moves himself out the way and actually brings in a GM and some people who can actually build the team, I think it'll get better. And somebody who can stop Jerry Jones from making dumb decisions, who could actually be like, yo, like, just for example.
I don't know if that's a family member. I don't know who that is. Somebody that can just say no to him. That's what he needs. He needs somebody to be honest and like the painful truth. And I just don't know who that is or who he would be willing to listen to, but it's definitely not who they have in the front office right now.
It was Jimmy Johnson before he kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, but that's the problem, that you see it when he really starts to disagree with you. He's like, you're gone. So at some point, that's probably why he likes McCarthy, because McCarthy just sits there like a bump on a log. And
the GM is Jerry Jones. So
yeah.
Like, you know, I just think they said Steven is the future, but I think Steven is just as dumb as his dad. So, you know, I'm of the mindset that, you know, I think that they need a clean break from the Jones family. I think that Jerry Jones needs to fire himself and his son and just stay in an owner's place and bring in an actual GM. That's the only way it's going to get better for you Cowboys fans. So moving right along to a team that did everything that I said. Morgan's hometown team, the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels said, screw all of y'all that said he shouldn't be playing. He played anyway and did a Hail Mary. Oh, my. Oh, my. I know there's some angry Chicago Bears fans that are angry that are watching the show right now or later that are angry we're bringing up that Hail Mary that shouldn't have happened. It was on a tip ball. Tip balls rarely work out outside of college football, but it worked out in this instance. I know the defender for the Chicago Bears apologized because I don't know what he was thinking. He had a Kyle Hamilton moment. I don't know what he was thinking. But, you know, great for the Commanders. They continue to do what Morgan and I have said, keep winning games to stay ahead of the streaking Eagles. I still think they're frauds, but they have a quarterback. And as long as Jaden Daniels' ribs don't give out on him, they have a chance to make the playoffs somewhere they haven't been since RG3 broke his leg on that bum field that they have. which I've never seen, but I know Morgan has been to. So she can tell me if it feels as bummy as it looks.
It,
So,
it is.
so,
Um,
so.
what I think about this is that this game, it was not Caleb Williams' best game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Caleb was really feeling the pressure. Jaden comes into this game with no pressure, none. He was the second pick. He just got hurt. He wasn't even sure if he was going to play. Caleb comes in with all the pressure. He's got to prove why I was the number one pick. Why, and I think that he forgot that football is a team sport for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Now, with all due respect to Caleb Williams, it wasn't his best game, but he did what he was supposed to do. His team had the lead. All his defense, not to blame it all on the defense, but all his defense had to do was stop Jayden Daniels. And a Hail Mary is something that never actually happens outside of playoff games. Just to, I agree with you that it wasn't his best game, but he did.
Yeah, no. He did put it together for a drive there at the end. They should have won that game. But unfortunately, that'll all anybody's ever going to talk about is that Hail Mary. Jayden Daniels did everything he could. He put it in the position to win, and they won. And, I think the Commanders are the real deal, which is hard for me to say, but I do.
I think they're frauds, and I think that game just proved that they were frauds. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, as we've seen. Like sometimes you were on the right end of a tip ball that should have been hit to I mean, I'm not a football player, but you former football players who watch this, right? I've heard from y'all that y'all trained to tip the ball down, not up on Hail Marys, correct? You've heard this too, right, Morgan? That they're trained to tip it down, not up. I don't know what
you don't want
thinking.
to give. Yeah, you want to get it down to the ground. You want it to be an incomplete pass as fast as possible.
All right. So I don't know what he was thinking, and he apologized to his credit. I don't want to keep calling him because I don't want nobody to be confused that watch this show. I just don't know who this defender's name is. So that's why I'm saying that. So moving right along to TNF tomorrow night, the Texans versus the Jets. I just think we're all tired of the Jets being on our television. Morgan's always running. He's not him, Aaron Rodgers, and we'll get to him in a minute. But I think this game is just about the Texans should win this game. There's no reason they shouldn't win this game. Obviously, they're injured. They don't have Tank Dell. They don't have Stephon Diggs. But that should be enough. CJ Stroud should be enough on his own.
I agree with you.
The Jets. Like, there's nothing here. Nothing to me is speaking to a Jets win unless CJ Stroud gets injured during this game. Or like what happened with the Vikings last week, which I'm sure will come up in our last segment. They get screwed on some dumb reffing call. So unless those two things happen, which would be terrible if you're a Texas fan, but CJ Stroud and the tight end should be enough, and the running back should be enough to beat what's left of the Jets, because it's over for the Jets. This kind of gets into our next question. But I just think CJ Stroud should be enough to beat Aaron Rodgers. And they still are relatively healthy on the defensive side. Morgan?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that the Jets are such a mess right now. I mean, they're drinking cayenne pepper and water. It's just, you talk about a place that's filled with distractions. The Jets is right up there. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has anything up his sleeve. I think that we've given them the benefit of the doubt like 3 times. We've been like, okay, they got Devontae Adams. Like, let's see this bump. Oh, they fired Salah. Let's see what this bump is going to be. And it's not there. I don't think he has it. Like, could he surprise me and win? Sure. But I think that would be more to the lack of weapons on the Houston side than it would be to the Jets actually playing well.
Yeah, I think so. My score here, I think it's going to be pretty much a blowout. I think this is going to be 30-14. CJ Stroud gets like 3 or 4 touchdowns. The running back has a field day, 2 or 3 touchdowns probably. But I'm just of the mindset that there's no excuse here. Like I've been said once they fire Robert Salah. Morgan said it too, that it was over. It's a dumpster fire. Another owner who needs to sell the team and fire himself, Woody Johnson, just needs to go into politics. That's his love anyway. Like, I'm of the mindset that, It's over for the Jets. I'm sorry for you Jets fans that watch this show. It's over for y'all. Like, just trade Aaron Rodgers, trade Devontae, just be sellers, trade Hassan Reddick, trade Garrett Wilson, and just start over. Start the process in the New York in for the Jets. Like, both of the New York football teams, or I'm sorry, the North Jersey football teams need to just start their own process because it's over for both of them. It's more over for the Jets than your Giants, but it's Aaron Rodgers. This is just what happens. I mean, uh, this is what happens. This is not the first time that a bunch of old guys come together in New York and it doesn't work out. Brooklyn Nets saw this a few years ago. Luckily, they saw the writing on the wall there and got rid of their old guys. Same thing needs to happen here. Like, it's time. It's time. A-Rod needs to be put out the pasture. It's over for him. He's in his 40s. Father Time is undefeated. And like I said, go Texans. 34-20. I don't know if Morgan has a score.
Yeah, I think it's like 16-12 Texans. I think it's going to be low scoring.
You love your low scoring too.
I do.
Jackson, what should be SNF, which is afternoon football, the return of the Kelly Greens, Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that I've seen the Eagles struggle with the Jaguars just 2 years ago. But I think that this version of the Eagles should be able to beat up on what's left of Doug Peterson's Jaguars. Like, Trevor Lawrence has never been more down than he is right now. And the Eagles' defensive line and defense as a whole is looking rather dominant. So I'm of the mindset that the Eagles should dominate this game. It might be closer than we all think, but I think that this will be the fourth straight game where they score 30. I'm thinking 34. You know what? I'm going a little bit higher because I got it right last time with 34. So I'm going 6 points higher. 40-20. 40-20. I'm giving. Well, I mean, they scored 37 last.
The Jaguars are going to score 20 points.
Look, I'm being generous. That there's going to be a couple garbage time.
I think it's going to be like 7-21. I think.
Oh, wow! You think they come down on the Jaguars? Are they that good on defense?
Yeah, where is the game?
Philly. They are 2-0 when they wear Kelly Green. Just so you know.
Maybe 7-28.
All right, I'm of the mindset that they're dropping 37. It's going to be 37-20. And the only reason I'm saying the Jaguars score 20 points is because there's 40-20. The only reason I'm saying 40, I'm saying 20 points for the Jags is because I think there's going to be a couple garbage time touchdowns in there that make Trevor Lawrence look better, or whoever the quarterback is once the Eagles ended. But that's where I'm at. I think the Eagles defense is a little dominant. I think they'll run it down. They'll run it down the Jaguars' throat. There'll be a couple deep balls to A.J. Brown, a couple of deep balls to Devontae Smith. I think that you will see the four-headed monster show up once again. I think this will be a 3-touchdown game for Jalen Hurts. Matter of fact, 4. 3 passing touchdowns, 1 rushing touchdown, because he's been good for at least 1 rushing touchdown these last 4 games. Now, Morgan, look, man, I've gotten the score right in every Eagles game so far. So
there you go.
Yeah, so our degenerate gamblers out there. The most intriguing matchups of Week 9. Morgan, you want to start while I pull this up? We kind of touched on.
I always love a Giants Commanders game.
Oh, is that's the game, huh?
It is in New York.
Okay.
I always just think that that's a fun game.
This will be the one. This will be the one time you hear it. Yeah. So don't go spreading it around. But go Giants.
There you go. Dolphins Bills always tends to be an intriguing matchup. They always play each other really well. Tua's back. He had his game last week. I think this will be. We'll see if he can come out and continue to play. Chiefs Bucks will be a good game. We'll see if the Buccaneers really are anything.
I'm sure NBC is mad that they flexed that Vikings game after last week. I'm sure they're mad.
Yeah. I think those are the only ones that I'm really intrigued with. How about you?
I said Eagles, Jaguars. I think I'm only intrigued just because I want to see the Eagles continue to dominate. You are right about Commanders, Giants. I think that'll be good. Um, Bengals, Raiders. I think will be sneaky just because I want to see if Joe Burrow can actually dominate what's left of the Raiders. Seahawks, Rams. I think will be a good game too. The Seahawks are going to be mad based on what happened to them last week. Lions, Packers. Always a good game.
It's true.
Uh, is this the second time? Because didn't they just play each other? Morgan, you there?
Yeah, I don't remember. I'm
All right.
thinking.
Well, Lions, Packers, Buccaneers, Chiefs, obviously. I think those are the interesting matchups for right now. A couple of bye weeks in here, fantasy wise, but moving right along. We can get to what we really want to talk about for our college fans in here. Gonna go real quick on this because I know Morgan has to go. But the Colorado Buffaloes beat the University of Cincinnati. They are bowl eligible. I don't think there's anything more to this game than Shador Sanders has gone God bold. Travis Hunter is back on defense. I think, like I said a couple of weeks ago, if Shador Sanders and Travis Hunter, clearly Dion listens to the show because I told him just be quiet, and let your talent win you some games, get bowl eligible, and then you can talk. So he clearly has listened. So like they're bowl eligible. That's great for them. They're beating up on the Big 12. I think that they've got a couple reality checks coming. Kansas State being one of them, but I don't know if they'll be in the Big 12 championship game, but I think that they have enough to be at a big time bowl game where they will then lose to a more powerful team. But they're bowl eligible, which is what people wanted anyway. I don't know if you have anything to add, or maybe you want to
No,
talk.
I think that's it's this is why they hired Dion. They hired him to make their program relevant. He's made them relevant. He's brought in really good players. He's been able to recruit better than Colorado's ever been able to recruit before. Um, I am hesitant to go too crazy in on them because we all did that last year and look where that ended us. But good for
Well,
them being bowl eligible.
all of y'all but me.
Being bowl eligible for the first time in God knows how many years is really exciting.
Probably since like we were babies.
Yeah, and we'll definitely help them with recruits, and I think that that's kind of the main landscape of college football right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to this question, going real quick on it, I think some people are underrating. I think for me, what I'm thinking is I want to see them in a bowl game and see them actually win a bowl game. I want to know, and I want to see if Shador and Travis will actually play once they get to a bowl. I don't think they will, just because I think selfishness and draft eligibility will play a role here. But I don't want to throw any aspersions on both of them. I just think that there's a lot of pressure on you once your team makes a bowl game, and then you got to think about the draft. So I think this would be less of an issue if the NFL draft was later, which I think it should be, because there's no reason to put it in April. like to me. I am of the mindset that I am not underrating them. I think that they're talented, but I think they're going to lose whatever bowl game they get into just because I think they're talented, but I don't think they are them. So I'm of the mindset that they're good, they're bowl eligible, and we'll see after that. Morgan?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. So moving right along to preview this game, Ohio State University versus Penn State. Why this is at 12 o'clock and not 8 o'clock is beyond me, but a lot of people who might want to vote or do something else on Saturday are probably happy that this is a 12 o'clock game instead of a 4 or 6 o'clock game. I think this comes down to this, like, we need to know more about if Drew Aller will play in this game, but I think after watching last week, Penn State has a very capable backup. I think this is a legacy game for Franklin. And I'm of the mindset that I've said it. Penn State has been the best team in the Big Ten so far, and Ohio State is basically on their last legs. Like Ryan Day, I think will be fired at the end of this year, regardless of if they do well or not, if they make the playoffs or not. Just because I think that you can't just you lost to Oregon. You won't be able to survive when they lose to Penn State this weekend. So I think Penn State has the better defense. I think the only thing that Ohio State has them on is the better receiver and the better running back. and that's hard for me to say. But the better tight end is Penn State. The better defense is Penn State. The better quarterback, I think, is Penn State. I think Drew Aller is better than Will Howard. And I think Will Howard has proved it before. So I'm of the mindset that Penn State should win this game. I think it'll be tight, but I think they win 27-24.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that Penn State, are they doing their whiteout for this?
Yes. For some reason, another reason why it shouldn't be a 12 o'clock game.
Yeah. I think that Penn State is the real deal this year. I think that they'll beat Ohio State. I love college football for this. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I think it's going to be like 32.
Ooh. So I got the lower scoring game.
30, maybe 31.
Go ahead. I mean, you
24, like 31-24. I think it's going to be a fun game.
All right. We both got 24 as the score for Ohio State. Okay.
Yeah. I see a few touchdowns and a field goal.
All right.
I see him going down maybe first drive of the game, not getting anything, kicking a field goal. Penn State going down, getting a touchdown, and then being scared to kick field goals the rest of the game. So after this, I'm going to hop off. I'm going to let Kylan talk basketball to you guys. I got to go carve pumpkins and watch the Yankees and do some family stuff. So,
all right. Well, you want to get into what you're most interesting, or
yeah. So yeah. After this,
he's not him. They aren't them. Since I want to give you a chance to.
Yeah. Let me pull up the matchups for this week.
Oh, I got it. Hold on.
I know I can't really read them on there though, so I'd like to have them on my.
Okay.
I'd like to have them on my little screen. So obviously Ohio State, Penn State is going to be a great game. Air Force, Army. It's just always fun. Those games are always great to see the military schools playing each other.
Are they both? Well, it's Navy that's ranked, right? It's Navy.
Yeah. Army's 7-0, ranked 21st.
Mm-hmm.
And Air Force is 1-6. So it's not going to be a great game, but the military schools playing each other are always great stories. Oregon, Michigan is going to be a good game. I know Michigan's not even ranked, which is kind of crazy, but
it's bad this year.
Yeah, but I always think you can't really count them out, even though I know they've lost 3 games, but they're playing a pretty hefty Big Ten schedule. So that should be a great game. Pitt SMU will be an interesting game. Just two like comparable teams, I guess.
Go SMU, and I'm not just saying that. Obviously, PA pride over everything, but they just beat my Syracuse Orange. So
okay. And then the last one I'm really intrigued about is the Indiana Michigan State. It's a great story. It's the Indiana JMU Dukes this year. So they, took half our players, took our coach, and are now 8-0. So Signetti is a great story. He's a great coach. So I'm rooting for him. And can they go 9-0? I think they'd be the highest. I would have to assume if they go 9-0, they are getting bumped up much higher than 13. So
probably.
And I know I know it would be beating Michigan State, and that's not a crazy win, but it's 9-0 in college football is hard, especially when you're in the Big Ten and you're Indiana. Like, you're not supposed to be 9-0.
Yeah. I have nothing to add. I think those are all the interesting games. We talked about my most interesting game, Penn State, Ohio State. I'm gonna let you do. You got a he's not him, she's not her, they aren't them before you go.
Yeah. So my they aren't them is once again the Jets. It's just, again, it's always something. Now we're doing cayenne pepper and water. Like, can't we just be like, what? Like, one of Kylan's favorite sayings is, what is it? Age affects us all, or no? What do you say?
Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah. Father Time is undefeated. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, getting older is not a bad thing. Like, drinking cayenne pepper is like the the fountain of youth. Like, come on. And remember, for both of them, not just Aaron Rodgers, the kicker too, But just remember, like, you are being looked up to by millions of people. Again, I don't care if you do it. Just keep your mouth shut. Like, you don't have to tell everybody everything you do all the time. Drives me crazy. It just
The ayahuasca and the cayenne pepper.
it's just again always something. It's never just like eat your veggies, you know? It's like I'm gonna go sit in a dark hole for 5 days and figure it out. And
darkness retreat.
yeah, it's just it's seemingly always something. And then kind of the last thing I'll say, I kind of have another they aren't them, but it's more just a PSA, whatever. We say it a ton on here, but this is our last show before the election. Whoever you vote for, go out and vote. It's an important election. I am a big believer, and if you don't vote, you don't get to have a say for the next 4 years. You don't get to complain if you don't vote. I don't care who you vote for, just go out there and vote. And a lot of people, they say, well, my vote doesn't matter, blah blah blah. I live in a blue state, I live in a red state, doesn't matter. Well, you're voting for your local elections too, and that matters a lot, especially depending on who wins the presidency. It could matter a lot more than you think it matters. So go out there and vote. And shout out to all the players and athletes that are encouraging people to vote and not trying to influence people on who to vote for. I always think that's really a classy thing to do. Voting is the main thing. People all have their own opinions, and that's what makes America great, is that we are allowed to have our own opinions and not get punished for them. So enjoy election day. Be nice to other people.
Unless you're on X, where you
for. Yeah, just don't let the trolls bother you. Don't let anything bother you. Enjoy election night. Watch the returns come in with some leftover Halloween candy and
hopefully
a glass of red wine, whatever you need to get through that night. So
Pennsylvania, and I'm just going to tell y'all, buckle up. It's going to turn into election week.
Yeah, I'm sure. So the nice thing about Connecticut is we pretty much know how stuff is going to go up here.
We'll turn into, because they don't get the count until 8 o'clock on election days. That's why it takes so long as far as Penn State with them.
It's tough. It's a and be nice to the poll workers. They're volunteering. Just be kind, be patient with people on Tuesday. It's a stressful day for everybody, no matter who you're voting for, what you're doing. Be kind is, I think, just the biggest thing. So I gotta hop off. It is 7:30. I got people downstairs waiting for me, but enjoy football this weekend. Enjoy the rest of the World Series. Hopefully we get 3 more games.
The Yankees funeral is over.
And enjoy hockey. We got the Equinox going on at all times right now. There's not the pro sports Equinox, but tonight we got every sport pro, and then we got college football. College basketball is going to start next week. So excited. Best time of the year. Let's
go.
So, we will be probably substituting. We can't add college basketball on top of everything else that we're doing. So we might temper down the NFL talk for a little while, just because the middle of the season gets monotonous. But we'll definitely talk college basketball in the next couple weeks. So peace out, guys. Enjoy. Happy Halloween. Enjoy election day. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah. Bye. See you later, Morgan. All right. So we're moving right along to the Philadelphia 76ers. They were fined $100,000 for inconsistent statements when it comes to Joel Embiid's knee injury. So for those that don't speak NBA, what that essentially means is the NBA basically confirmed that Joel Embiid is injured. The Sixers were not faking it. And not pretending that he was injured, but they basically got fined for the public statements of them basically saying, hey, he's not going to play back-to-backs. And this was essentially the equivalent of this, a slap on the wrist, and basically them saying, play him, because the Sixers have a few marquee matchups coming up next week where you will probably see Joel Embiid and Paul George, because the Clippers game is next week. So they'll probably play Paul George for that. You'll probably see Joel Embiid next week. Probably even this weekend. I have no sourcing on that. But this upcoming weekend is Sixers Grizzlies. And I am of the mindset that Joel Embiid is fine. He's probably just experienced some new soreness. Nothing chronic. Drew Hanlon has been there. He's done. Shams is reporting that he's doing scrimmaging. So I think it's incoming. Joel Embiid and Paul George. Paul George will probably be sooner than Joel Embiid. But I'm of the mindset that the Sixers got a slap on the wrist here. The NBA is just kind of making sure that the Sixers aren't making Joel Embiid Tim Duncan and just not playing them for the sake of not playing them. Whereas he's legitimately not ready yet. But he will be. I think he's fine. If this was the playoffs, he'd be playing. But I think he will be playing soon and being back to his same old dominant self very, very soon. So those are my thoughts on that. The Sixers finally got their first win on Sunday. Took an overtime, but they beat the Pacers without Joel Embiid and Paul George. Joel Maxey, Tyrese Maxey had to go God mode, scored 45 points, finally played within himself, doing what I said he should be doing in my last Word on Sports article, which is linked below here. Needs to be more of a facilitator, get those 5 to 8 assists a game, get your teammates open, and then let the game come to you instead of forcing it, which is what he was doing against the Bucks and the Raptors. And lo and behold, he lets the game come to him. He plays within himself, scores 45 points, gets about 3 assists, and has a game where he puts the team on his back and they win. They are playing the Pistons right now. But I think that the Sixers should be fine in this stretch. They should be able to beat the Pistons tonight. They'll probably have Paul George on Saturday night against the Grizzlies, and probably Joel Embiid too. Again, I think that we'll know more about Joel Embiid and Paul George at the end of the week. But moving right along, what the Sixers should be prioritizing early in the season, especially without Paul George and Joel Embiid, is just chemistry. It's the time to develop chemistry. Obviously, a lot of things are going to be messed up once Joel Embiid and Paul George come back, but it's a time to develop chemistry. It's a time to get those habits, those good habits developed already. They still should be playing hungry. The one thing I will give those Sixers this year is it seems like they put a lot of dogs on the roster. Gorshan Yabusele is looking great. Eric Gordon is finally starting to find himself. Caleb Martin seems to have found himself post Pacers game. So as long as those dogs keep showing up, as long as they keep playing tough, as long as they keep getting those extra rebounds, keep hitting the shots, so finally the Sixers started to hit their 3-pointers. So once that starts happening, once it starts equalizing, once they start trusting each other, it'll wind up being better. Trust. If you're the Sixers, so trust, develop that chemistry, prioritize health, because right now October games build into June games, but right now it's more about being healthy, developing that chemistry, and having a good team togetherness by the time April and June come. Because I fully expect the Sixers. I said this in the barbershop. Shout out to Reggie's Barbershop. I said this over the weekend. I got into a heated argument with a Celtics fan, but I fully expect it to be Philadelphia 76ers versus the Boston Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals next year, or this upcoming year, I should say. And I think the Sixers will win in 7 games because I think that they have a team specifically built to beat a lot of teams in the NBA, but specifically tailored to beat the Celtics. So that's where I am. So they should be prioritizing health, team chemistry, and getting everybody comfortable in their roles as soon as possible. So moving right along, what's wrong with the Knicks? Right, with the Sixers 1-2 currently. Although for the Knicks, it's looked a lot uglier without Dante DiVincenzo. I was telling a lot of people, if you were in a text chain with me or in a message chain, a lot of these New York Knicks fans, I was telling them you need to chill. The power of friendship is not going to work. It's good to have the power of friendship in 20 games, but we've already seen it, right? They put Dante DiVincenzo in Minnesota, and New York Knicks 3-point shooting did this because Dante DiVincenzo was their best 3-point shooter. And like I said, when Dante DiVincenzo is your best 3-point shooter, you really don't have much of a three-point shooting edge, because Dante DiVincenzo, while a great shooter and an NBA champion, he's streaky, very streaky. But the Knicks right now, what's wrong with the Knicks? They're not hitting their shots. Mikal Bridges is not doing what he should be doing. It's just not looking good. The power of friendship isn't really working out right now. Now, having said all that, I still fully expect the Knicks to be a third or second seed this year. I fully expect the top three to be some combination of the top three seeds in the East to be some combination of Boston Celtics, Philadelphia 76ers, New York Knicks, not necessarily in that order, but that's the top three seeds in the East. Um, and I fully well, that's what's wrong with the Knicks. The power friendship isn't working. They need to develop that team chemistry, need to stay healthy, and a lot of people really aren't doing their jobs, and that's what's wrong with the Knicks. And once they actualize this, once they start hitting their threes, and once they get more 3-point shooters on their roster, it'll look somewhat better. But I still think they're going to end up being a second round exit this year once again. Moving right along, Christy Sides and Stephanie White were both fired. Christy Sides by the Indiana Fever and Stephanie White for the Connecticut Sun. Now, I know a lot of people think that Stephanie White will end up being in Indiana. Who knows where Christy Sides will end up? But for Connecticut, I think my reaction to this is, this is the WNBA right now, especially if you're the Indiana Fever and the Connecticut Sun. You're trying to keep up with the Las Vegas Aces, with the Minnesota Lynx, and with the New York Liberty. And so you need somebody who can come in and knows how to coach and develop talent and develop talented duos or trios as they have with Indiana and Connecticut Sun. I honestly think the Connecticut Sun are in a worse spot. They have a lot of free agents. They don't really have the necessary draft picks. Now they might keep Melissa Smith and the rest of them who they have in the free agency market. They might keep Dejanay Carrington. They might be able to keep their core together. And if that happens, then the Connecticut Sun are right there together. But I just think there's too much 50-50 right now for the Connecticut Sun. I think you'd rather be the Fever, where you just are a coach and maybe some role players away, than the Connecticut Sun, where a lot hinges on being able to re-sign Dejanay Carrington, being able to bring back all Alyssa Thomas and them. And it's just not. Whereas and Alyssa Smith and them, whereas in Indiana, Kelsey Mitchell's probably gone, but then you got to replace that. But at least you have Aaliyah Boston and Caitlin Clark, and that should be enough to at least get you to the playoffs. You know that. Connecticut Sun is a little bit iffy. So both of these players need a coach. Both of these teams need a coach who can build a team, build chemistry, and build a winning championship culture. Right? So what does this mean for coaching in the WNBA? It means that if you're taking a job with a superstar talent, either in the WNBA, that your days are not long. So you better be able to build a culture. You better be able to get buy-in from your superstar players. And if you can't do that, then you won't last long in the coaching for these really good teams in the WNBA. And I think that's really what that means for coaching right now. So moving right along to our shout out segment. So I was at Christian Struggle Church, which, full disclosure, is my home church, earlier this weekend or last weekend, and the youth ministry there put on a really good anti-violence community event with a great panel, some great panelists. I covered it for the Philadelphia Tribune. That article should be coming out soon, but I thought it was a really great segment. Really great to hear youth voices. Really great to hear what they think about what adults and young adults can do to help you feel comfortable, to solve different things around gun violence and other things that are going on, not just in big cities, but all around this country and all around the world. And it was great to be amongst youth. Specifically, it was organized, shouts out to Faith Washington. It was organized by her and her team at the church, and it really came together, really well done event. You guys can read all about it in my Tribune article, which should be out sometime soon. Sorry, I don't have a date for you, but if you check out the Philadelphia Tribune socials and just stay tuned to my socials, I will definitely retweet that out, because I think that, when you're doing some positive things, whether you're young or old, you need to be shouted out. So shouts out to Christian Struggle Church's youth ministry. Shouts out to Faith Washington and her team and all the other people who were involved in such a great event. So that's my shout out. Now we move right along to He's Not Him, She's Not Her, and They Aren't Them. A lot of y'all's favorite segment. So my They Aren't Them, first of all, it's got to be the referees in the NFL. I mean, how do you miss such an obvious face mask? Like, literally, if the Vikings wind up making it to the playoffs and not being a 2 or 3 seed, it is literally because of that. The Vikings, there's probably a lot more excuses as to why they lost that game, but that is right up there. This happened to the Lions. The refereeing is so bad, and those calls should be able to be challenged. somebody should call from New York. They should be doing an NBA model where you call in from New York and you tell the refs, review that, take it away. How you guys missed an obvious face mask. That should be Lions ball. I mean Lions, Vikings ball. Vikings should have had a chance to keep that drive alive, and they more than likely would have won that game. So my they aren't them to the NFL referees. My they aren't them. Another one to the NBA. It hurts me to say this, but I know the NBA has to do the protection of the game thing and everything. But you're finding the Philadelphia 76ers, but you're rather silent on what's going on with the Clippers and the Kawhi Leonard stuff. Obviously, I know it's he said, and you got a lot of investigation to do, but you've given the Sixers that slap on the wrist where there's a lot of other things going on in the NBA that probably needs your attention more than that. Again, and I know that the NBA has to protect the integrity of the game, make sure people are getting their investments. Obviously, people pay to see Joel Embiid and Paul George play, and they're not playing because of very, very injuries and injury recovery, so they should be playing soon. So my day aren't them to the NBA just because I want them to be more fair when they're handing out fines, more fair when they're trying to do the integrity of the game. My other they aren't them, just to wrap this up, to those Yankees fans yesterday. Like, what are y'all doing, man? Taking the glove and taking the baseball out of Mookie Betts' hand. Like, you cost your team. Obviously, it didn't wind up hurting the Yankees too much. They won last night, staved off elimination. They're still about to be eliminated. It's still Dodgers in 6. I said that last week. I just think that we saw this with Bartman. Obviously, he did a less egregious thing than what those two Yankees fans did yesterday. They're talking about they should D. They had to D up, and I think they should be banned for life. They should be made infamous. Their picture should be put up in every ballpark, every MLB ballpark all over the country. Shouldn't be allowed to come into any baseball games ever in their lives again. They should be embarrassed. They should be covered as what not to do for fan behavior in baseball, because if this would have happened in Philadelphia, people would have been having whole segments. They would have cut in on First Take and ESPN shows and Fox Sports shows and all the other networks to talk about, look, again, typical jerk Philadelphia fans. Look, how come they can't behave? But because it's New York, nobody wants to do anything, and it's kind of crazy. So my they aren't them to those two Yankees fans. Be better. Again, I know that fan behavior has changed post pandemic. A lot of people have been doing a lot post pandemic. And, it needs to go back to normal. Like fan behavior, you need to be able to stay in your seats. If a ball comes your way, catch it. But like taking an out away from Mookie Betts and doing all of that just to get the ball out of his hands, taking away a clear out from the Dodgers was just clearly very, very egregious, and it's a shame that a good World Series is marred by that. Like I said, those fans should be banned for life. So yeah, that was the segment. He's not him, she's not her, and they aren't them. Like we said, public service announcement here. Obviously, this is our last show before Election Day next Tuesday, this upcoming Tuesday. So definitely vote. Be aware, do your research. Not going to tell you who to vote for. Obviously, I think there couldn't be a more obvious choice here when it comes to this. But do your research. Vote in all your local elections. Not just about the presidency, but just vote, man. Vote. If nothing else, vote for your mayors, vote for your attorney generals, district attorneys, whatever is up in your area. Vote, man, because this is the voice that you have. You pay taxes, you might as well vote, right? So vote, get your voice out there, do your research, hopefully make an informed decision, and we'll see if it ends on Tuesday or will we have to wait until the weekend. So we'll see. But yeah, man, those are my final thoughts, man. Get out there and vote. Enjoy the good football. Enjoy basketball, NBA, college basketball coming up next week, hockey, what's left of baseball. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Friends don't let friends, brothers don't let brothers, sisters don't let sisters, girlfriends don't let girlfriends, miss out on such a great podcast. So get out there and share. We think we're doing a great program here. 50 episodes in. I think we're coming up, but we just passed a year, so we'll do something special for that. Don't forget to follow us on X/Twitter. Morgan is at M_India_Miller. I am at Kylan W. Watson. Thank you all so much for tuning in to episode 50 finds and blowouts of the Sports Hour Plus with Miller and Watson. Have a great rest of your week and enjoy your weekend. And again, whether you're voting early or voting on Tuesday, get out there and vote. Stay in line. I've already voted by mail, so just get out there and vote and do what you need to do, man. Do your research, make an informed decision, and just enjoy this fall season. Happy Halloween to those who celebrate. Be safe out there. And I'll see you guys next week. Deuces.